Hello, I am still waiting for a few bits to turn up so that I can continue with the heater installation. I'm waiting for a fuel tank. I did receive one, but it turned out it wasn't the same dimensions as they'd specified in the listing, which is rather annoying, so I've sent that one back. I've got another one coming. I'm also waiting for some heat exhaust wrap to turn up. Anyway, the point is I can't really do anything until I've got the rest of the bits. So I thought I would do a quick video just addressing some safety concerns which assorted people have flagged up in the comments, some with more anxiety, shall we say, and vociferousness than others. And I've got a fair few points to make on this. So first of all, thank you very much. I appreciate, though I may be terse in my replies, I do appreciate people being concerned about my safety, but I really don't think you need to be. Because I am aware of the safety issues and I'm taking steps to mitigate them. Now, the issue, of course, first that various people have pointed out is why am I putting the heater where I'm putting it, which is inside the vehicle, not flat on the floor with the exhaust pipe pointing straight out. And I went through this when I did the initial Propex propane heater installation, in that there just isn't a suitable place in the van as it is laid out for me to put the heater so that it is flat to the floor. There is a structural member going down the left hand side of the van and a structural member of the chassis going down the right hand side of the van. So if I tried to put the heater flat on the floor there, I'd be drilling into the chassis member, which I don't want to do. And then across the back, if I put it in the cupboards across the back, there's the spare tyre hanging down there, and I don't want to poke the exhaust down into the spare tyre either. So there's not really a good place where it can go there, and I know some people put it under the seats, and I don't exactly remember this, but I have a vague memory of when I was looking at doing the Propex heater, that the exhaust pipe from the engine comes out past one of the seats, so I couldn't drop the heater unit out there, and then there seemed to be a lot of other stuff in the way underneath the other seats. Either way, it just worked out that when I put the Propex heater in, the only place to put it was inside the van, and I know that is not optimal. I know that's not the proper way of doing it. I do appreciate that, which is why, being aware of it, one takes steps to mitigate any problems. With the Propex, the exhaust pipe had this very tight fitting, lovely high temperature silicon bend corner piece on it. I've got it actually, hang on. Ugh. The Propex one could use this, and this squished on very tightly, and I had a clip round it, Jubilee clip, and it kept everything very tight and no exhaust leaks into the van. And this stuff's super high temperature. I think it goes up to 260 degrees anyway, so that was fine for the Propex heater. So the point is that the heater unit, the new diesel heater unit, is going to have to go where the Propex was, and that is inside the van. Now, it is not completely out the bounds of installation to have a heater inside a vehicle. For example, all the marine installations, you can't obviously just drill holes in the bottom of a boat and poke the heater out because the boat would sink. So it is normal in marine installations to have the heater on board somewhere, and then you run a lagged exhaust pipe to a more convenient outlet point. I grant you that in an ideal world you would not have the heater in the habitation area. So on sailing boats they would have it in a locker in the cockpit or something. But in a van the whole thing is the habitation area. So if you're having it inside, it inevitably has to be in here. So then there are two problems you need to address. One, heat, the heat of the exhaust pipe, which on the diesel heater is substantially more than it was on the old propane heater, and secondly, exhaust fumes. Well, in terms of the actual heat of the unit and the heat of the exhaust pipe, it's going to be very, very well lagged. And as I say, it is not uncommon to have these things mounted inside boats, and then you lag the exhaust pipe. So I'm quite happy for the heater itself to be inside the van in terms of pure heat, and then I will not just once lag it with high temperature lagging rated up to something like 540 degrees Celsius. I'm going to double lag it. I've bought two different types of exhaust lagging, both super high temperature rated. I'll wrap the one, which is this sort of conventional exhaust wrap, very, very thickly around it, and then I will put this other stuff over the top. So the exhaust pipe is not going to be a problem in terms of heat. It'll get hot still, but it's not going to be a problem in terms of setting fire to anything in the van, and I shall make sure I lag right up to the very top where it joins the output of the heater. And then the second thing, and possibly the more important thing that people talk about, is, well, you don't want that exhaust, the connection between the heater and the exhaust pipe in the van, because if that leaks, it will spew deadly carbon monoxide into the van. Now, there's a couple of things to say about that, 3 things to say about that. Firstly, of course, is when these heaters are operating properly, in fact, the amount of carbon monoxide coming out of the exhaust is negligible. So, generally speaking, there wouldn't be carbon monoxide. I still don't want exhaust coming into the van, but generally speaking, the carbon monoxide coming out of these exhaust pipes is negligible, unless there is incomplete combustion, but that's another story. Secondly, I have got this high temperature, I don't think I've got it in here, but I've got this super high temperature exhaust paste which you smear around the exhaust outlet, and then you shove the hose on, and that forms a lovely good airtight seal. And the clamps that come with the planar heater, I don't know if you'll be able to see them here, but they are a really good proper solid type of clamp. Can you see them? Possibly. That again really clamps the exhaust pipe. Where is it? There we go. It's got this little notch in it so that when you clamp it tight, it squidges it really solidly over the outlet of the exhaust. So you've got the really good clamp, you've got the heat, high temperature stuff you gunge on it. So there shouldn't be any leakage of exhaust, whether it's well burning or not burning at all. It should be fine. And if it did happen to leak, and if it was doing incomplete combustion, I've got not 1 but 2 carbon monoxide detectors in the van as well. One is actually down there near the heater, and the other one is behind me over here. So if there was a carbon monoxide leak, those would pick it up. And fourthly, I don't intend running the heater while I'm asleep. I would only ever run it while I'm awake in the van. I normally, with the old heater, put it on a little bit in the evenings to keep me warm. Once I'm under the duvet, don't need the heater on. And then in the mornings I might run it when I've woken up, just to take the edge off the chill in the van. So although I accept it is not the optimal way of doing things, I am happy enough that it will be fine, both in terms of the heat from the exhaust and the fumes from the exhaust should not be a problem. But even if it was, the only person who will be affected is me. I shall award myself a Darwin Award if I do manage to exit myself somehow, and it won't affect anyone else, so it really doesn't need to trouble you, because it will simply be me. I'm the only person who goes out in the camper van, so I'm the only person who will be affected. So thank you for your concern, but it should be okay. Now, all that said, having installed it, I will be monitoring it very, very closely during my initial runs. I will do test runs, I will run it for an hour, I will put my heat gun on it, I will see how hot the exhaust gets, I'll see how hot the unit gets, I'll see how hot the woodwork gets, I will put a carbon monoxide sniffer against the exhaust. I will do all these tests to make sure it is as safe as can be. And so with all that done, I really think I am mitigating all the necessary safety. I mean, you can go ad infinitum with, well, what if? But honestly, as soon as I start the engine and start driving, what if I hit a bus or someone smashes into me? What if I walk across the road and get hit by a bus? You know, life is full of potential dangers and things that could horribly go wrong. The trick is to be aware of them and mitigate. So I believe honestly and truly that to the best possible extent in the circumstances, I will have mitigated any problems. You may choose to disagree and leave me comments about how I'm going to off myself in the comments. Sure, knock yourself out, why not? But I think it will be okay. And the final point I want to make, I'm getting into a bit of a rant here, is that my videos are absolutely and categorically not how-to videos. I have never ever pretended that mine are a guide to how you should do things, or me saying this is the best practice. In fact, far from it. It's the complete opposite. My videos are very definitely, don't do it like this. This man is an idiot. This is how he's doing it, but definitely don't follow this for your own installation. So nobody should be looking at my videos and going, oh, I'll do that. No, definitely don't do that. I'm just documenting how I'm doing it, and that is how it is. Anyway, there you go, a little bit of a rant, but thought I'd just pop that video up to address some viewer comments. So thanks for watching, and hopefully the next video I will be getting on with the rest of the heater install. Cheers now, bye-bye.